So you've built muscle, but you look fat, right? You got the muscle, you look fat, and you clicked on this video for one specific reason, which is how do I actually keep the muscle that I've built and shred the fat away? Well, who am I? Well, my name is Shlok, and I want to explain to you 4 concepts that I learned when I've undergone this transformation many, many times. I've been working out for 4 years since the pandemic, 4 to 5 years. I have done everything right in the book. I've done everything wrong in the book. I've done everything in between. I have failed many diets. I have been fat, skinny, skinny fat. I've gone through all the phases. And so if anyone knows what they are talking about, I feel like it would be me. And I have very average genetics. I am not blessed in any sort of way. I am just skinny fat like a lot of South Asian people are. And so I learned these four to five things that I really feel is going to be super duper beneficial to you. And I promise if you stick around to the end of the video, you will have walked away learning something new. And I hope that you apply some of these, if not all of these things that I'm going to explain to you. So let's just get started. First and foremost, before we even care about cutting the fat, we need to make sure we're at the ideal optimal body weight for our given height, right? And I think an example of this, and what I consider optimal weight, by the way, is where you're 10% body fat and the rest is muscle. And that weight you're going to be at to achieve that is going to differ based off of your height, right? So if you're 5'6" and you're 200 pounds, you will never become 10% body fat at 200 pounds. Your genetics will put a limit on how much muscle mass you can have for your given height. So for this guy, I would most certainly be like, okay, like you might need to drop some like weight, right? Your optimal weight for this guy might be like 145 pounds or something, right? This guy, he's 6'2", but he's also 200 pounds, but he looks totally different. And so for him at 6'2", the optimal weight might be 195 pounds. He can most certainly get to 10% body fat at 190 pounds, 180 pounds, and be at 10% body fat and the rest be muscle. This guy who's 5'6" can't. So for your height, whatever your height is, right? So for example, I'm 5'9", my optimal body weight would be anywhere from 155 to, or not even 155, 150 to 165 pounds. And I can be at 10% body fat throughout that weight range. And if I want to go higher on that range and still be 10% body fat, right, that just requires more years of training and going through the bulk cut cycles as well. So first and foremost, make sure that you are in a place where you can actually lose weight, right? That you can actually do a weight drop. You can also just be really skinny. If you're 5'6" and you're 100 pounds, you should not be worried at all about cutting fat. You should in fact be just like bulking it up and eating burgers and pizza or whatever, right? And just get that weight up. So for every height, there's an optimal weight. Make sure that you are close to the optimal weight before you cut, like be plus or minus 20 pounds, right? If that's not the case, or actually plus 20 pounds because this video is about cutting. So you want to be between plus 15 to plus 20, 25 pounds. And that's going to be the optimal weight you should be at before you want to cut down. And that also just depends on your height. So first and foremost, make sure that you have that done. Let's say your optimal body weight, you're 5'9", your optimal body weight is, let's just say 160 pounds, right? So let me erase these guys. If you want to get to 160 pounds, right? I'll just make this scale. You want to get to 160 pounds, and if your optimal body fat percentage is going to be 10%, right? That means you are going to need about 144 pounds of muscle. Now, if you are already at 160 pounds and you are not at 10% body fat and you are at 15-20% body fat, you cannot recomp your way to 10% body fat. It is extremely difficult for anybody to recomp to 10% body fat. You have average genetics. You are not going to recomp to 10% body fat. And so what does this mean? This means you need to start off at a higher weight with a slightly higher body fat percentage and get the amount of muscle mass you have on your body higher. And so for that, let's just say you bulk up to 180 pounds. 180 pounds, let's say you're in the bulking, right? You're not taking the bulk too far. You're at like a good body fat percentage to build some muscle. Let's just say, I don't know what I've written here. Let's just say you're at 16% body fat. Best case scenario, you haven't taken it too far. And I would even recommend you take it to 18-20%, but let's just say you're 16% body fat. That means the amount of muscle mass you have, excluding fat, that's going to be about 151.2 pounds. If you have that much muscle weight, now you can cut down because the human body loves to hold onto muscle it has built. Once you have built it, your body thinks it needs it for survival. So as you keep training while cutting down the weight, it's going to keep the vast majority of this, right? And so when you cut down 20 pounds, not all of it's going to be fat. You're going to lose some muscle, right? You might lose like 6 pounds of muscle. What is it? 8 pounds of muscle maybe. You might lose 8 pounds of muscle. You lost 8 pounds of muscle, but you also lost minus 12 pounds of fat. And in this case, 12, 8, 20, yes. Now that when you drop, now you are at your ideal 160 pounds, 10% body fat. A lot of people try to get to their ideal weight and recomp. And again, I already iterated this, you cannot recomp to 10% body fat. At best case, you might be able to recomp to like 15% body fat, maybe 13% body fat. And it all depends on your genetics. But if you really want to get to a nice body fat level, just 10%, you're going to have to be heavier than your optimal weight. Oh my God, if I drop this on my shirt, you're going to have to be heavier than your optimal weight and then to cut down. So always know your optimal body weight for your height, go above that, and then start your cut. And if you meet that criteria where you're already above your optimal body weight, then yes, you are good to go for the cut. Concept number 2, genetics, set points, and how to actually cut the weight. Let me explain to you the concept of homeostasis. I'm sure you know what it is, but I'm going to explain it to you anyways. Your body loves homeostasis. It loves to have its set conditions and always stick to it. So, for example, if my body always wants to be at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit, if it's really hot outside and my body temperature starts to rise, my body is like, oh no, this is not homeostasis. I need to start sweating and cool down to get back to 98.7 degrees. If my body gets a little too cold because I'm in cold water, my body starts ramping up my metabolism and constricting my blood vessels and trying to keep in the heat. So I always stay at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. I will die if my body is not always at 98.7 degrees or near it. So that's the concept of homeostasis, where your body always wants to get to a certain set point, right? And the same is true with weight. But luckily for weight, we can change our set point. I'm going to just explain in a second why. Let's say my set point is 180 pounds and I do something too suddenly. For example, let's say I am at 180 and I suddenly spike in weight, right? And I'm at like now 190 or something. You can't even see the number, but I'm at 190, right? My body is going to panic because it happened really fast. And my body's going to be like, I'm not in homeostasis. I need to get back to my set point for the weight. And it's going to slowly come back like that. Or not even slowly come back, it's going to instantaneously come back. If I do the same thing but in the opposite direction, if any of my markers work, if I suddenly drop weight really fast, my body's going to panic and immediately it's going to slow down my metabolism or my resting energy. It's going to slow it like way down and suddenly bring me back up here because it always wants to be at the set point, right? And luckily, with weight, we can change our set point. If we do things slowly enough, your body won't notice and have an immediate reaction to bring you back up to the weight that it decided was the set point. And I think a good analogy is if you had a car and in your fuel tank, you had a full tank, and I every day just took a little bit, like a teaspoon of gasoline from your tank. I siphoned a teaspoon of gasoline from your tank every day. You're never going to notice the needle moving. You're going to assume some of it was taken just from normal driving, right? So you won't notice. But if I suddenly overnight take half of your tank, well, you're gonna notice the needle in your the odometer or whatever, it's gonna move, and you're gonna be like, wait, whoa, 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 you just half of my gas is gone. Like something's definitely wrong. I'm gonna fill my gas tank all the way back up again. And your body's the same way, where if you do things slowly enough, your body won't notice and actually kind of change its set point a little bit, right? So instead of if I don't do a sudden drop, but I do something like it happens so slow, my body doesn't even notice, and it even adapts to this new set point. And this could be like, this is 180. Oh my God, this is the worst marker ever. This is 180. This is 170. Because I was slow enough, this is my new set point. And sorry, my pen keeps opening. This is my new set point. And that's if I do it slowly enough. But if I do it too fast, everything gets messed up, right? How will this path look for you? Let's say I actually want my set point to be 155, right? Let's just say it's 155. This is the new set point I want to get to. Okay, I'm just going to bring this lower. It's not a accurate scale. Let's just, or 155, whatever, right? Typically, what you want to do, it's very hard to do a slow and gradual linear change like this. Don't do that, because otherwise you're just going to bounce right back up, right? This is not actually ideal. Even a slow, gradual, linear movement down is not ideal, because if you're losing at a constant rate, your body might actually end up noticing, right? Like, you really have to be sneaky against what your body is doing. You have to trick your body, right? What I like to do and what has always worked for me is I will gradually go down and then I will stay at this new weight. Right? So this might be like 178, and then I'll go gradually down again and then stay at that weight. So this might be like 176, 175. I'll stay there. Let my body get used to this weight, constantly being at this weight. Let it change the set point and then gradually go down again and then maintain the weight, gradually go down again, maintain that weight, and then keep doing it. And so you'll end up getting a stair-step model down. And this is what I have found to be the most effective way to gradually lose the weight and get your body to always change its set point. And the great thing is, once you have the set point at 155 pounds, you can accidentally go, like you were here, you can accidentally actually go up a little bit in weight, and your body will be like, oh, wait, like what just happened, right? And then just bring you back down. And so your body changes your metabolism depending on where you put the set point, right? So metabolism is energy out when you're just resting, right? So your body will, your metabolism is very changeable, and your body will do with it as it pleases to get it to its set point. So extremely important concept. This thing about set point: gradual, slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. So do this, do the stair step model. I promise you, you will shred the fat like that. Concept number 3, never ever eat on an empty stomach. Don't eat protein before your workout. And after your workout, most certainly eat protein. And I'm going to explain why this is really important and a lot of the traps that I think a lot of people fall into, and ones that I'm even guilty of falling into myself, right? When you're on an empty stomach, your body needs energy when lifting, right? I'm assuming you're constantly lifting, not too intensely, right? I'm assuming you're lifting, you're reminding the muscles like, hey, I need you to keep the size that you have and let the body know to drop the fat. So you're working out, but now you're on an empty stomach. What happens? Well, on an empty stomach, your body doesn't have glycogen or blood sugar in your blood to burn for energy, for instantaneous energy. And so the next thing your body does is it's going to use your muscle cells for energy. It's going to dissolve your muscle cells, convert it into energy, and use that. And so you're burning muscle because you're on an empty stomach. You're burning muscle to then later rebuild that muscle, and so you're going to end up at a net zero. You just did that for no reason. And so I really strongly recommend you never ever train on an empty stomach. You want to make sure that your body is using the energy that's readily available in your blood, from carbs that you've eaten before, right? You want to make sure your body is burning everything except muscle when you're working out. So what should you eat before your workout? Well, I already kind of hinted at it, but what you really want to do is you want to get a good source of carbs and water into your system, right? Carbs will soak themselves in your muscles. It'll pull water in, and your water is going to pull in a lot of essential nutrients to your muscle, and it's just going to really help you perform and drive and push through that workout. So definitely get a source of carbs and water before your workout. Do not eat protein before your workout. You can a few hours beforehand, right? Like if you had lunch at 12 and you want to work out at like 4 o'clock, that's totally fine. But an hour or two before your workout, do not eat protein, because protein requires an enormous amount of energy to break down. And so if you eat protein right before your workout, a lot of blood is going to go to your stomach and focus on digesting, and that blood is not going to go to the muscles that you're working out. So protein is an extremely bad idea to eat right before your workout. Right after your workout, that's when you want to eat protein, because right after your workout, your body has secreted a lot of protein binding molecules, and these protein binding molecules essentially attach themselves to the protein and take it into your muscles. And this is at its maximum within the first hour, an hour and a half after your workout. In fact, it's even more prevalent 30 minutes right after your workout. And the reason this is so important is because the more of these you have, right, the more your body's going to absorb the protein that you eat and take it to your muscles. Because not all the protein you eat actually goes into your muscles. A lot of it just goes to waste. Like you'll like shit it out, right? And so the more of these protein binding molecules that you have, that's exactly when you want to feed your body the most amount of protein. And so eating a big protein heavy dinner right after your workout, 1000% recommend do that. But yeah, if you want to make sure your body's taking away from fat and not your muscle or anything, eat before your workout. And if you want to make sure that your muscles are being maintained and well kept, eat the protein right after your workout. Super quick bonus tip before we get into concept number 4. A lot of people make the mistake of cutting fat out of their diet because they're like, if I eat more fat, then I'll store more fat, which is not necessarily true. Fats are extremely important for regulating your hormones. If you cut out fats, your hormone, like, you're gonna have a massive hormone imbalance. Your testosterone levels are gonna dip if you cut out fats from your diet. So it's extremely important to get healthy fats into your diet, and a good source is avocado. So never ever cut fats away from your diet. Don't do it. You'll hate yourself. Just keep fats in your diet. It's okay. Concept number 4, overtraining. And I see a lot of people make this mistake when they're trying to cut down on their fat and get to their final nice lean muscular body, is that they overtrain. They train intensely because they really want to preserve the muscle. They associate intensity with preserving muscle, and that I think that's very misleading and very wrong. The reason is that because you are in a calorie deficit, your body's ability to recover and repair will go down 10, 15, 20%. If you overtrain, you will have broke down a lot of your muscle fibers, and your body doesn't have the recovering tools to be able to repair that. And so your muscle mass will start to actually shrink and waste away. And that's the last thing you want to happen to your muscles. And so please be very cognizant that you are in a deficit. Your ability to maintain the muscle you've built is going down. You don't have the calories or energy to do so. You basically want to train your muscles in a way that kind of reminds them that, hey, I'm still using you and I don't want to overtrain you, and you can still recover fine. I just want to let you know that I'm still using you, so don't waste away, right? You're telling your brain and your body, you're losing weight, I only want you to take from fat. Your body's going to be like, oh, where's somewhere I can take this energy deficit from? Oh, wait, let me just take from muscle. And you want your muscle to just basically tell your body, no, stop. I'm still being used, so you most certainly don't want to take from me. And then your body's like, oh shit, like, well, okay, okay, I guess the next place I can take from is fats. Okay, I guess I'll go to the fats. And then your fats, can't stand up for themselves really, and so your fats are gonna like shrink. And that's essentially what you want to do. Just remind the muscle that they're still being used on a cut, but not use them so much where your body can't repair the muscles, because then what's the point? You're just gonna decay. So absolutely do not overtrain. If you were on a bulk training 5 days a week, 5, 6 days a week, that's fine because you have extra energy, you have extra calories, your body's like, psh, easy. But the moment you're on a cut, you shouldn't be working out 5 days a week. You should be maybe working out 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and taking more rest days, and sleeping an extra hour long, because you need to give your body every tool it can to just recover and repair amazingly. And well, that was the end of the video. If you feel as if you've gotten some value out of what I just talked about, or if you learned something new, or you just want to, support a really small channel, then I strongly encourage you to consider subscribing and liking the video and sharing it to whoever the video might be relevant to. I am still in the middle of my own transformation right now. I did do a bulk and now I'm cutting back down. So I'm following each of these concepts meticulously as I'm doing it, and you can follow along my progress on my Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Yeah, that's all I had to say. Thank you for sticking around to the end, whoever the 15 or 10 viewers are. But anyways, until next time, bye.